Shabbat Shalom, you hear me? Shabbat Shalom to all my aquas, my ox. It's gonna get it. It's gonna get it, you know what I mean? Let's put our ingenuity, you know what I'm saying, to its finest. Let's do what we do. Frequency, a return or an occurrence, alright, of a thing, repeated, in short intervals, you know what I mean? Straight up. Wave, right? A sudden occurrence or increase in specified phenomenon. So we understand phenomenon to be energy. Alright, so a sudden occurrence of or increase in a specified energy. Alright, as towards feeling or emotion or wave. Okay? As if you are following within the laws, the vibrations. You understand? You quam on every occasion, within the laws, within the vibrations, within the mitzvahs. Everyone out here should strive to be sinless for the Ruach of righteousness. Alright? What we do, you hear me? What we do on our platform, we surf the wave. So come on, surf with me, you hear me? I'ma break bread with you, you hear me? And we gonna dodge all hijacks. Understanding that a sudden occurrence of, okay? A sudden occurrence of energy or an increase of specified energy, as if you're feeling emotion, the wave within the mitzvahs, the wave, the broken wave, the broken wave, broken sign waves, sin. We have a sin wave. Alright, let's go and get it here, man. Before we do anything, let's go and get it one time, you hear me? One time for the ass. One time for the ass. Copyright. Fair use for your caboose, you heard me? Off top. Educational purposes. Educational purposes. You understand? Let's go and get it. You heard me? Fair use. Fair use. Fair use. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about? Frequency. A return of occurrence of a thing often repeated. Alright? We talk period. All we talking about is time. What period? Chronology. Alright? Choose your chronology. Choose your Joshua. Choose your frequency. You understand? Duplications. Wave. and driven by a wind. Alright? Unevenness, inequality of surface. Alright? To be moved as a signal. To be moved as a signal. You heard me? A wave. To be moved as a tile. You understand? Hold up. Told you, man, this home, you heard me? 432, all day. This home. It's gonna pop off. Where was I? To be moved as a signal. To be moved as the signal. To fluctuate. To fluctuate. To waver. To be in an unsettled state. The mem. The mem. Alright. The signal. The X. The tile. Crossed sticks. The mark. The sign. The signal. The monument. Alright. To be moved as the signal, to fluctuate, to be the mem, to be the wave, to be the tile, to weaver, to be in unsettled states.
Hi, it's Mr. Anderson, and this is AP Physics Essentials, video 104. It's on wave period and frequency. Period is the time between oscillations in a wave, and frequency is going to be how many oscillation or waves do we have per unit time. Now, it's sometimes easy to confuse frequency with the velocity of the wave, and so we're not even going to start with waves. We're just going to start with some flashing lights. And so the light on the left is flashing. Try to figure out the period. How much time is there between each flash? And the right answer is there's 1 second. And so the period, or capital T, is 1 second. There's a flash every 1 second. That's the period. What's the frequency then? Well, we're having the flashes, and so it's how many flashes we have per second. And since we have 1 flash every second, our frequency is 1 flash per 1 second. Now, the units for that is going to be in hertz. And so our frequency is 1 hertz. Now let's look at the other light. And so it's flashing as well. Try to just figure out what the period is. You can see it's slower. And so the period in this case is going to be 2 seconds. So it's taking twice as long between each of the flashes. So what's going to happen to the frequency? So now we've got one flash per 2 seconds, and so what's going to be the frequency? It's going to be 0.5 hertz. And so period and frequency will always be the reciprocal of each other. Once you know period, 1 divided by period is going to tell you the frequency and vice versa.
All right. Check it out. All right, so what we got going on here is wave, period, and frequency. Waves, all right? Waves. We surf the wave, all right? Wave is the tau. It's the mem, okay? It's the median, all right? Period. What we deal when we deal with period, we deal with time, we deal with chronology. Okay, when we deal with the wave, we deal with the signal. What's the signal? What is the signal? The signal is the tau, it's the cross. Okay. When we deal with the wave, we deal with the signal. Okay. The cross. Period is a time, chronology. When the signal in a certain chronology and a frequency is established, you have a connection to the Most High. Okay? You got the Quam. Put your ears on deck. You hear me? Put your ears on deck. Wave. Okay? Wave. To be moved as a signal. As a signal. To fluctuate. To waver. To weaver. To be in unsettled state.
Stick right. Bob and weave. To weaver. A digging.
What's the signal? The tau, the X,
The track
the cross sticks, the mark, the sign, the signal, the monument. Alright? All that. In a chronology, a time period. And
time.
the what? The frequency. A return of occurrence of a thing often repeated in short intervals, in oscillations. Alright? In oscillations.
Oscillations. Got it.
So, we have time. It's 1 second. 1 second. What occurred? One flash. Okay? One flash. So, let's say
Is going to tell you the frequency.
that you wanted to get 432 hertz here. What would you have? Let's just say that you would have, let's say you would have 432, okay, positive thoughts,
Connections.
432 continuous thoughts,
Vibrations.
okay, that were, what,
To wow.
perspiring,
Yapa.
right, uplifting, yapa, you heard me, over 1 day.
Haruks.
What's your frequency? 432.
Oscillations.
Okay?
Within the period.
So how do you get that number?
Time.
Just plug it in.
Frequency and vice versa. And so waves transfer energy through
Let's understand what waves are. Waves. We already said it. The sign, the signal, okay?
The media
Transfers energy.
that the side travels
Choose your
on.
signal. Choose your Joshua. Okay? Choose your energy. That energy transfers energy. It has oscillations within a certain time period, within a certain chronology.
Duplications,
Okay? Sin waves
phantoms,
transfer negative energy. Sine waves, same thing. No different.
half a circle,
A sine wave is not complete. A sine wave is not complete. They're waves. Okay? Waves transfer energy, whether negative or positive, and they occur in oscillations within a frequency, within certain intervals, short intervals. Okay? Occurrence of an often thing repeated at short intervals. You understand? Wave period.
Oscillations. The wave period is going to be the time between the waves, and then the wave frequency.
So the wave period is the time between the waves. The wave period is between you're up, you're down, you're up, you're down,
the
between
vibration,
your emotion, your roller coaster ride
the frequency,
as a being, as a continuous energy.
ruach,
You surf the wave,
with your
whether it's
top,
positive or negative. Because you're supposed to transfer energy, my naga. We are servants of Hawa. Alright? Dig.
Frequency is going to be a wave or a set number of waves per unit time. Now we measure period in seconds, and then we're going to measure wave frequency in hertz, which is the number of waves per unit time. Now if you're ever looking at a wave diagram, energy is going to be waves per unit, and we're going to measure wave frequencies per unit time. Now if you're
Alright. Let's get it. Let's get it like it's the first day. You heard me? Now, when I tell you that a sine wave is not complete, this is a sine wave.
incomplete,
This is a sin wave. This is shock testing. This is recoils. This is silent weapons. Quiet wars.
360,
Okay? These are vibrations. Alright?
no full circle,
This is data being read. Alright? Spectrum. Whatever spectrum. It don't matter. Okay? This is a sin wave, sine wave. This wave is not the same as this wave under here,
that's positive,
or this wave under here,
and
under this
negative
line. This is a positive wave.
at the top,
This is a negative wave.
at the bottom,
These two are the same. But this is not the same as this. Nor is this the same as this, because this
negative and positive,
comes out of what's being rectified. Okay? This is distortion over here. This is when you have a clean oscillation.
that number 360. Dragon eye
So,
view, perspective.
The length of a wave is from here to here, or it's from here to here, wherever you desire to make your length of wave. Okay? You have a full wave when you hit here and here. Okay? At that point, you can cut this part off and hook that over, and you'll have a closed wave. Okay, so what I mean by that
360
is
perspective.
that if I cut off right here, okay, and I start my wave, my full wave would be right here. I'll cut off. Okay, this is a full wave. Alright. So understand that this is halved.
Positive.
So how many waves? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay?
Different though.
These are the ups and the downs. The ups and the downs.
Negative, positive,
Positive and the negatives through life.
death,
The vibrations we feel. Okay? When we
Negative.
break sine wave. Okay? What's perspective? Let me show you what perspective is. That's perspective. That's clarity. That's
That
sinless.
dragon eye, you hear me?
Dragon eye. Perspective. Alright? Sinless. Complete. 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 You understand? Complete.
I dig it.
Complete.
I dig it.
Complete. Okay.
All the way
We're at 0. We're at 90. 180. 270. 360. Complete.
No cuts,
No
no punctures.
broken. No broken. No interference. No sin wave.
None of
None
that.
of this.
No ups, no downs,
None of this.
no turbulations.
So when you are in the correct frequency,
432, my knowledge.
you see this.
Dragon eye. All
You
the
see
way
clarity. You see perspective. You understand?
through. Already.
If you're ever looking at a wave diagram like this, the first thing you want to do is figure out what are my axes labeled. And so the position is changing here, but this is over time. Now you could also have wave diagrams where it's position here and position here. But since we have time on the x-axis, if I want to figure out what the period is, I simply measure the distance between waves. And so I find one wavelength, so one oscillation, and then the distance between the two is going to be the period, or it's going to be the time. If I wanted to figure out the frequency, then it's simply the reciprocal of that.
Alright, let's go and get it. Let's go and get it, man. We all learning about frequency. Period. Vibrations. Oscillations. Alright, we're gonna cover that with this stimulation. Y'all can come here to colorado.edu and get your mind stimulated. Alright, let's get it. So we want to deal with the water. Alright. So you see frequency, amplitude. Alright, let's get everything even. Alright, what we got here? Water level. Timer. Tape measure. Alright. Let's get top people. Side, get my back. Alright. So we see the drops. Alright? We see the drops. Okay? Frequency of the drops. Vibrations of the drops. Alright? It's the oscillations of the drop. It's all within the wave. Okay, this is what I mean by when I say the wave, you are the tower. frequency. Alright, let's see what happens. Alright, let's pause it. So, let's start measuring right down. Okay, that's the wave. Going up. Go back down. Okay, so that's about the wavelength right there. Okay, that's our wavelength. So our wavelength is 7.2 centimeters. Okay, with a low frequency. So what do I mean by that? It means you're not oscillating with the right frequency. Okay, because if you're oscillating with the right frequency, this would be a more in-tuned wave. Okay, a more, how can I say, a more of an energy wave. Okay, so let's see what happens when we drop the amplitude. So as of now, that's what we pretty much got. Bam, there goes a wavelength. Bam, there goes a wavelength. 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 Alright. Let's drop the amplitude. See what happens. So you got a stop. Because you have no frequency, you have no oscillation. So when you have no frequency, no oscillation, pertaining to, correlating to the correct frequency, which we are supposed to be tuned into, you have nothing, okay? You have no connection. You have nothing, okay? Put our tape measure back. We have nothing, nada. Alright. Yes. Still going. Amplitude. Amplitude. Extent of capacity or intellectual powers as amplitude of mind. Okay. Extent of means of power. Okay. Abundance. All right. Amplitude of range in projectiles is the horizontal line subtending the path of a body thrown. I don't know about that one, but I think this is what I'm getting more of. Largeness, alright? Amplitude, the largeness, alright? Extent of capacity. The extent of capacity of what capacity? The dragon within you, okay? Or the intellectual powers, okay? What we talking about? We're talking about Shakeen, alright? As amplitude of mind, okay? Extent of means of power, okay? Abundance, sufficiency, okay? Sufficiency, okay? So let's get back to our one. Where we at? Where our game at? Alright. So, we can understand that we have nothing. We don't have anything popping off. Alright, so let's see what happens when we get hostile, when that Dracan just starts tearing up. Okay. Alright. Now let's see once the frequency pops up. Okay. So once you start getting in the right frequency, okay, this is what you need to be seeing. Okay. Slow-mo. Alright. So let's get our tape measure back, alright? Let's measure. Alright, and as you can tell, our wavelength has gotten smaller. Okay. Our wave is actually more defined. It's gotten tighter. Okay, so we tighten up. Okay. Start spiraling up. Okay. You start getting in that right frequency. Okay. You see the wave. Alright? Become the wave. You surf the wave with your towel. Managa, you are a tracker. Alright, so let's press play. Alright. Let's see what the graph does. Okay, so right here, the wave. Bam. So right here, and right there is the wave. Whoa. Alright, what do you see? You see sine waves. You see sin waves. Right? Looks like your DNA, your helix. Right? So this is all within 1 second. Okay? 1 second. So 1 second, I got a complete wave, complete sine wave. Okay. Now understand and overstand that this can never be where we at. Perspective 360. 360. Alright. That's what we surf. Okay. Through our towels. Through our tribulations. Alright. So the milk. You see the milk. You see it. You see it in action. You see the mightiness. You see the chaos. Alright? You see it. You see the bloodline. Alright, you see the DNA, you see the helix. Alright. Understand when you're on the wave that you ride that wave with your Tao since day one. You surf the wave with your Tao, with your dragon. Alright. Shit, get it like it's the first day. Alright, what we talking about? The Mem, the Wata, the chaos, the mighty, the blood. Alright. Already. We surf the wave. Alright. You surf the Mem, you are the Mem. Perspective. It's the wave. It's the blood, the DNA. You are the Mem, the mighty, the chaos. Alright. See, this is what they're trying to do to you. Keep you away from your frequency and keep you down by all means. And what's the example? Let's let it play. You get the picture? No Mem. No wave. No DNA. No blood. No existence. Okay? Keep you away from the frequency. Keep you away from the amplitude. But if you choose up, choose the right spiral, you get it popping like that. You get it popping, you heard me? You get it popping. You want the top view? Let me show you the top view. No change. No change. Still perspective. DNA. Popping. Water. Dropping. Alright. Understand. The Mem. The chaos. The mighty. The blood. The Ta. The mark, the sign, the signal. Okay. All that rides with you. And you surf the wave. Alright. Let's get a different perspective. Oscillate. You know what I mean? That's what we call this, the oscillation. Because at the point right here is the beginning, it's an oscillation. It's an oscillation. So right here. Okay, so once this thing completes, it's an oscillation. Alright. So, let's put this bad boy in slow motion. Again, what's the capacity? 1.25. Alright, then we'll go 61, 61. Dampen tension. For right now, we'll leave those alone. Alright, let's play. Check out our wave. Okay. Once again, when they keep you down, then you have no amplitude. Okay? You have no fury. You have no go, no passion, no thrive, no go get. And your frequency, your vibration is low and not connecting to the correct spiral. It's like you almost got a flat line. There's still life in you, but check it out. And that's a win form. Cause all they know is win, win, win. You understand? Until we get our head out the cloud and get our ass on Quan. You understand? So we need to get our vibrations up. Alright? And when we get our vibrations up, we need to choose the right frequency, 432 and Quan. Even though this is a sine wave, this is a sin wave, okay? Understand that this is the positive side, this is the negative side, but understand that this is completion, 360, okay? 360. 360, 0, 90, 180, 270, 360. Alright? This is perspective. Understand that this is what we deal with when we deal with life. Ups, downs, negative, positive, life, death. So we got to set ourselves on Quam, you understand? Understand that these are our trials, our tribulations, our ups, our downs, our falls, our come-ups, our setbacks, vibrations. Understanding that this is a study. This is recoils, vibrations, shock testing, frequency wars. Okay, this is how they study us. This is how they study things through vibrations. Understanding that this is a whole different aspect. You feel me? This is for electrical use or for amplitude, for oscillations, clean oscillations, but in our perspective, this is a sin wave. This is a sine wave. Okay, when you talk sin waves, you know you're talking tangent and cosine. Okay? So tangent, cosine, and sine wave. Okay, so what are these? Reflections, opposites, different positions, different positionings, okay? Y'all know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about when I talk about tangent, cosine, and sine. What we talking about? All goes back to the one drop, man. All goes back to phantoms, duplicates, okay? A different perspective, view on certain things, alright? So, y'all know where to come, man. Y'all know want to get on this And check this out, man. phet.colorado.edu. It's free, man. It's for educational purposes. For educational purposes, you heard me? There's also another one I want to show y'all. Let me see here. Where we at here? Let's see. Alright, so before we get into this wave interference, I'll bring you here real quick. So, sine wave, alright? Sin wave, sine wave, sin wave, or sinusoid is a mathematical curve, alright? What they're talking about. This right here. What they're talking about. Sinusoid, alright? Mathematical curve. Okay? Mathematical. Broken up. Alright, understand that these right here are different points in this curve, in this wave, this sinusoid. Okay, the sine wave. As stated before, this is positives. This is negatives. Each one of these is a degree. Okay, degree. Alright. Okay, a mathematical curve that describes a smooth periodic oscillation. Alright, so describe what oscillation is already. Okay, something that is repetitive. Alright. It says down here, the term vibration is precisely used to describe mechanical oscillation. Familiar examples of oscillation include a swinging pendulum or AC, alternating current. Alright, so vibration is energy. Okay, for this mechanical oscillation, vibration is energy. Okay, so where we at? A sin wave, a sine wave, is a continuous wave. Okay, so this is ever going. This wave, all right, is an electromagnetic wave. Okay, electromagnetic metatron, wave of consistent amplitude and frequency. Typically, a sin wave for the mathematical analysis is considered to be of infinity duration. Okay, continuous wave. Okay, continuous wave is also the name given to an early method of what? Radio transmission. What's that? Radio transmission. What we talking? Huh? Talking 5G? We're talking early radiation, 900 megahertz. You know what I'm saying? We're talking. Oh, so FM, AM. You know what I'm talking about? So we can understand that this is a continuous wave, okay, of ups and downs, negatives, positives, life, death, okay? It is named after the function, okay? So it's named after the function, sine, okay? Remember, I told y'all earlier, you can't talk sine without talking cosine, okay? Without talking sine, without talking tangent without talking hypotenuse. Okay, so let me see something real quick. Okay, sin, sine, trigonometry function of an angle. Okay. So an angel deals with your sins. Okay. Another function of an angel is to deal with your sin. I don't know, but I'm surfing the wave. Alright. The sin that you made was defined. Alright. So you can understand that. Okay. It occurs often in pure and applied in mathematics as well as physics. Alright, so I mean, look, man, the ancient ones didn't have no physics. They didn't have no engineering, okay? They didn't have any mathematics that's complex of what we go to school for today. Nah, you know, they figured out how the world works through simple vibrations, okay? Through understanding what energy is and where energy comes from, okay? They know all what they knew, and society today is still trying to get to where they were at, okay? So, goes to say that physics ain't shit, engineering ain't shit, alright? Mathematics ain't shit. Nah, I'll dig on signal processing because it's the study of vibrations, you heard me? It's vibrational, you know what I'm saying? And that's what the ancestors did. They processed signals, they processed vibrations, okay? But now with the technology that we have today, nah, this was mental, this was physical. This was done through observations, you know what I mean? So, again, when I refer to a sin wave, a sine wave, you know, you got to understand that this is a continuous wave of ups and downs, you know. So when I refer to a sin wave, this is what I'm referring to, alright? But this is what we want. We want clarity. We want clarity 360, you hear me? No matter where you look, no matter what it looks like. There's no up, there's no down. It's a perspective, okay? Compared to ups, downs, alright? So, let's go and dig on wave interferences. I'll show y'all this. I was trying to get the quantum physics one, but for some reason it don't want to pop off. So let's just back up. Hold up. Let's go to the slits. So here we go. Got frequency coming in. We got amplitude at its max. Alright. Again, when you silence us, when you become dumbfounded, when you become mind controlled, 5G banging upside your head, and you can't think, and you just don't have no life. You got 0 amps. And if your frequency ain't right, it don't matter. You know what I mean? It don't matter. Ain't nothing popping. Ain't nothing popping. Alright? But you let that one knocker get a little energy and look at it. Look at it. Look at it. You want to slow him down? You want to bring his frequency, take his frequency off? He's still resonating. He's still resonating. But the key here is choose the right frequency. Okay? So that when you are amped up, you are within the right frequency. 432 all the way up. Already. Put it on slow. See, these is energy waves coming through at a certain frequency. Alright? It's got its oscillations. You understand? It's hitting this barrier. Alright, and these barriers don't absorb this energy. Alright, it's the law of conservation. Okay, so what's going on? I don't know, to my extent, to what I see in my eye is that this energy gets sucked up to here and it spreads back out, creating its own pattern, its own vibration. Okay, because at this point, it's its own vibrational energy. Okay? Keep in mind, energy can't be created or destroyed. But it can be transformed, right? So it was just transformed into a what? A circle, right? Closed energy. What we talking about, man? A whole dragon eye. Look at that. I'm just saying, you know. But once it opens up, it starts busting out, spreading out. Alright? It starts spreading out. See? Check it out. It starts spreading out, starts opening up. Okay? Creating its own pattern. Creating its own pattern, man. Energy cannot be destroyed nor created. It's negative. It's positive. There's life. There's death. Alright? There's light. There's dark. Everything's a duality. What's not a duality? There's man. There's woman. Alright? Multiple dualities. Alright? So, let's check it out. Press play. Look at it. I don't care where I put this. It's still gonna be there. Okay. Understand that this is time. Slit energy. Energy. Alright. So what am I getting at? Alright, being that we covered waves, we covered oscillations, covered frequency, period. Okay? Calm. What I'm getting for real is the fact that the mem, okay, the mem, which is you, which is the cons, the original, okay? You surf the water, you surf the wave, okay? And the signal, surf on the water is the cross, okay? Fire. And the ancients, they surfed the wave everywhere they went with their tile. You understand? Their sign. The mark. Okay? All is possible. Straight up. The ether. The movement. The signal. Alright? So, when I say I'm in the frequency of 42, okay, this is what I am saying. It's the door. It's the da. Okay? The da. The door. Okay. Move, hang, entrance. Alright? The mem. You are the mem. Okay, so when you're in 432 perspective, you are the mem. You know that you're the mem. And you move with your tile. Okay? You move through an entrance. Through the doors. Through barriers. Through life. You understand? The doors. With my tile. And through that is hang. So we see death. With a brighter perspective. Because we are eternal. Okay? So you are the walking mem. You walk with your tile. Okay? You move with your tile. You hang with your tribe. And you enter the entrance of what? We're gonna get to it. So the third, the three, is the gam, the foot. Okay, you gather. You surf the wave. You are the mem. You surf with your tile. However you move, you're a continuous walking energy. Ether. Whether you move, whether you opening doors, you entering, exiting. Okay? Understand that at the end of the day, back. Knowledge goes back to the back. It's key. The floor plan. The tent of meeting. Solomon. We already know who's in the tent. Joshua. Moshe. The Powwow himself. The floor plan. Who's giving the floor plan? Oh wow. Solomon. The family. Let go. The family. Alright. The house of who? The house of the Powwow. Alright, so when you are in the perspective, the Almighty, the frequency of 432, through the ether, my knock, you know you the kind, and you walk with your tile, day in, day out, you ain't never scared. However you move, wherever you enter, the ether, and the goal is to enter and gather your information and walk through the ether and serve the house of Hawa, the floor plan, the tent, through the doors, temple for the powwow. Abraham. After he was Baruch with the land of Canaan. Then we have the 10 of meaning. Moshe.
No play.
Priest. Bring of water. Or David. The floor plan was given
Already.
The floor plan, my Nagas. Solomon. Whose family? Dawiz. The house of who?
Text.
Wow. Gather your information, my nigga. My naga, and you suit up. And you qualm. For everything life throws at you. But without the negative and without the positive, there is no life. Without the negative, you can't experience the joy of a positive. They work hand in hand. Okay? At the end of the day, with Quan, just surfing the wave. You understand? I'm just surfing the wave. Copyright. Fair use. Fair use. Yokaboo. Already. Let's go get it. Called the ether, the fifth element. It's gone dead.
It can never be imagined, but it can imagine everything. It can never be devised by what is already known. Without it, there is no true knowledge. When activated, it can take us into the mystical realms of life. And when potentiated, it can hold all we know together as separate and united. This is the element of ether.
Eat the cut, you hear me? Eat the cut, straight up.
Ether, also known in the Indian culture as the Akash, and in Chinese as Tao.
So, to the indigenous, Akash, right? And to the Chinese, right? Dal. Alright, let's run it back.
Also known in the Indian culture as the Akash, and in Chinese as Tao,
Dal.
is the progenitor of all other elements. In this video, I will briefly describe the attributes of ether, as well as why it's important to our practice.
So what did he say? The Chinese, China, Kana, right? Kana, they call it Dal. Here we go. Dal. The door. Ether being the door to what? To move. To move life. To move vibrations. right? To move frequency. Ether to hang. Ether to come back again through the entrance. All possible because of the dollar, the ether. Alright? Keep it perspective. Keep it perspective. Keep it perspective.
We'll also create a follow-up video of a practice that can help experientially understand this principle. Ether, also known in the Indian culture as the Akash, and in Chinese as Dao, is
Fair use.
Namaskaram, Sadhguru. Sadhguru, one of the five elements, Panchabhuta, is Akasha, space. And in one of your YouTube videos, I've heard you, you say ether, you mention ether about space in Akasha. So once you, in your talk now, in time travel, you talk about space. So this ether and Akasha, I'm a bit confused. Can you please elaborate on the ether part?
I'm glad you're confused. Because confusion is a much better state to be than stupid conclusions that one makes. Confusion means you're still looking. That's nice. That's my intent, to keep you confused. Yeah, because I want you to be seeking, always. Nobody said Akasha is space, we said Akash is ether. That's not an appropriate translation, but reasonably. Ether is not space, ether is a certain dimension of existence, subtle. When we say space, we are talking about kala or non-existence. We are talking about Shiva, that which is not. When we say Akash, we are talking about that which is. Here you are. Here you are as a human being. There are many levels from grossness to subtleness here. If you have constipation, you still have something gross inside you. Above that, there is a little more refined aspects of body. Above that, there is a lung full of air. Above that, there's a brain and thought and emotion and so many things. And there is life going in and out. And there is Akasha involved. There is water, there is physical material, there is air, there is temperature, there's fire, and there is Akash which makes this. Don't try to understand that, just get this right, because this is a mini cosmos. So if you perceive this right, you know that because today there is no question about this anymore. We've always been saying this in the yogic dimension, but today modern physics has come up with what is called as the constructional theory, which is talking about how the design factor in the universe, whether it's atomic or cosmic, is fundamentally same design. You as a human being with this kind of form, a grasshopper, an earthworm, a bird, a crawly creature somewhere, all of you have same fundamental design. From atomic to cosmic, the fundamental design is same. The complexity and sophistication of how this design evolves into multiple forms is different. Your design is far more complicated and sophisticated compared to that of an amoeba, but the fundamental design is still same. Only the complexity
is increasing. So you don't go about trying to observe the cosmos because you don't have a gallery view of the cosmos. You cannot. There's no place where you can sit and observe cosmos. And in fact, you cannot observe anything except what happens within you. Even if you take a telescope and look at the star is happening only the way it projects in your mind, isn't it? Yes? You don't see any star. This is the reason why you see stars which don't actually exist. Many stars that you see don't exist, but they're projected in your mind in a certain way, and that's how you know it. Or in other words, you only can experience this, or this is the only doorway through which you can experience anything. Whether you want to experience the food that you eat, or the air that you breathe, or the people around you, or the world around you, or the cosmos, you can only experience it the way this is. If this is very clear, you will see it the way it is. If it has taken many forms and shapes, you will see it in so many different ways. These days, I think largely the mirrors have gotten flat, you know. Even now, I think if you buy some cheap mirror, you will look like this. But if you get certain types of concave mirrors, you can definitely reduce your weight in a day. You just go stand, you look like a dash-on. So, the mirrors give different impressions of who you are. Suppose you always looked at your face with a slightly distorted mirror. After some time, you will assume that's how you look. Yes or no? Yes or no? Do you think that's how you look? Because every day you looked at yourself and that's how you looked, and you think that's how you look. So even now, you think the world looks this way simply because that's how it's projected in your mind. If you evolve this mind to a more refined surface, that there's absolutely no any kind of wavering in it, it is perfectly plain mirror, then it will reflect everything the way it is, but upside down. You know, in the mirror, everything is like this. So now you must have the intelligence to correct this without distorting it. See, most people can't turn a dosa around properly. If they try to turn the dosa around, it'll become those kind of things. It takes certain skill to take something like this and turn it around without distorting it. So this is the problem with the mind. One thing is, already it is wavy or choppy, whichever way you kept your mind, but it is definitely wavy. You're seeing the world in the wavy mirror and it's looking certain way. And most people have never attempted to turn it around because they think that's how it is. When you want to turn it around, it takes a certain amount of skill to be able to turn it around without distorting it. So you have two problems. One is to first flatten the mirror so that it is undistorted, and now a much bigger task of wanting to flip it around without any distortion. So that is… we have not approached that in your life yet. First to make the mirror absolutely without distortions. We still working on that one. Is this air very much a part of you as a life? Those who do not say anything, we're going to throttle you. Your life is spread all over here, isn't it? This is physical. Even in this physical, there are many levels of crudeness and subtlety, isn't it? There are very gross elements in the body, there are subtler elements in this body, there is thought, there is emotion, there is air that you breathe. Or in other words, life is always from a hardcore crudeness to many subtleties. Depends how much you spread, That is how much subtlety you have in your life. How wide your wings spread, that much of subtlety is possible. So now what we're referring to as Akasha is a subtle dimension of life. If you suck out the Akasha, you cannot exist here. If we suck out the air from this hall, you cannot exist here. Though you cannot see it, still it is more vital than your hair, I'm sorry. Because there is more money spent on hair care on the planet, definitely a lot more than the brain care. You see where our values are. If you pull out all your hair, you can still live. If I cut your ears, you can still live. If I cut your nose, you can still live. If I just suck out this air that you cannot even see, most of the time you're not even conscious whether it exists or not. If I suck out the air, you cannot live for a moment, isn't it? If we suck out the Akasha, you cannot live for a moment. There is there's a temple in Karnataka, in southern India, which is called the Annapurneshwari temple. Anybody from Karnataka? You been to Annapurneshwari? So, at the rear part of the temple where most people may not go, because I'm always poking into nooks and corners, others are all happy looking at the goddess. There is an inscription in Hale Kannada, that means the old type of Kannada, which is over 3,000 years old. There's an inscription talking about how to design an airplane in a temple. And they're saying, you can do like this, but if you fly these machines, it will disturb the ether in the planet. If it disturbs the Akasha, when they say Akasha, don't think space. When they're saying if you disturb the Akasha, then human beings will not know peace in their life. Once Akasha is disturbed, then psychological disturbances will become enormous. I think you're a living proof. I think there was an old movie by Manoj Kumar which said, sure, airplanes and
Imbalance, imperfection, 5G, frequency wars, frequencies, duplications, vibrations. You know what I'm talking about? Oscillations within the periodic time, chronologic. You know what I'm talking about? So, man, you might as well stick a fork in us, man. We done. We done.
the disturbance that it's causing, and he's glad his ears went away one day. Something like that, yes? So, if we suck out the Akasha, this physical body will not exist for a moment. So when we say Akasha, we are still talking about 5 elements. As you yourself in the question you mentioned, among the 5 elements, Akash is one. So when we say elements, we are not talking about empty space. We are talking about one more substance. Like earth, like water, like air, like fire, we are talking about one more aspect of 5 elements. So do not mistake Akash for empty space.
Shabbat Shalom to the home team, you know what I mean? Dismount.